Good morning, everyone. I'm your host president, Mark Dixon. Welcome to your Rotary Club of St. Albert morning meeting number 1474. Please rise for the singing of O Canada. Very nice. Thank you very much. Inspirational moment. I believe this is Dawn.
Unmuting. Good morning, Mark. Thanks for the heads up. Fellow Rotarians. Some people know that seniors are my passion. I have a very few special super seniors, and I'm watching them to learn how to age gracefully, happily, and especially in good health. I'm trying to understand how they got to where they are when they were where they are, because as a young senior myself, I'm closing in on that old senior line. I want to be like them when I grow up. In this COVID crisis, seniors inspire me. They are experiencing major losses. Things like I can't hug my grandchildren. Some frustration, I miss my friends, but there's no anger that I've heard from them. What I do hear a lot is, it is what it is. They weren't there for the Spanish flu, but a lot of the stories from their parents, they remember. They grew up in a time when boundaries were set and respected, and you followed the rules. So now it's natural and expected that they follow the guidelines for masks, distancing, staying at home, no matter how frustrating. They're wise, and they know that that's the best way to survive this COVID-19. I so respect and admire their wisdom, behavior, and respect for others. Sounds like others above self, doesn't it? It's not complacency. It's just knowing that this is the right thing to do. Here's to the seniors in our midst and our lives. I'm watching you, and I salute you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dawn. Nicely said, as always. Introduction of guests. Let's go around the room. Let's start with our friends at Ricky's. Do we have any guests there? I see Doug waving his hands. I see Rebecca pointing at somebody or other. Who's there?
Looks like Doug's wife.
Doug, are you going to introduce? We can't read lips. It's on mute.
I want to introduce Robert Gallant.
Oh!
The best. Yeah. Stand up, Robert. Stand up. Gotta come up. He's got to be in here. There he is.
Is that a potential new member?
The best line. Yeah. Robert Gallant. The best line this morning was from Craig Mallon, who said, We found him because they had his picture on a milk carton.
Very nice. Welcome back, Robert.
We have Rebecca with us again.
Welcome, Rebecca. Good to see you. Who else do we have around the table? Cheryl is with us. Good morning, Cheryl. Welcome. Amanda is here. Charlene's guest.
We've got Natalia in the house.
Oh, Natalia. Thank you, Doug. Welcome, Natalia. Good to see you. I'm sorry, who did I miss?
Maddie?
We have Maddie? Where's Maddie?
Yes.
Hey, there she is. Hey, welcome, Maddie.
Hey.
Well, let us. Now, you know what time it is. Oh, yeah. It's time for the welcome song.
Welcome to Rotary, glad you are here. Come shake our hands and share a friendly cheer. Whether from here or whether from far, we're glad you're here. We hope that you will like our little song, because we're proud of St. Albert, and you'll agree. Our club enjoys some great camaraderie, so we do what we can to help with the needs of our community. With our friends at Rotary, with our friends at Rotary.
Oh, gotta love that song. Gotta love that song. So, Charlene, I believe you're doing the introduction of our guest speaker this morning, please.
I am. I've been lucky to know Cheryl for, I don't know, probably close to 30 years. We met way back when we curled a lot out at the Jasper Place curling rink. Met a lot of great women out there. I'll give you my formal introduction of Cheryl. Dr. Cheryl Pollard has lived in St. Albert for over 20 years. Her engagement with the local community includes chairing Stop Abuse in Families Board and volunteering with the Arts and Heritage Society. Provincially, she serves on the Registration Review Committee with the College and Association of Registered Nurses of Alberta, and nationally with the Mental Health Commission of Canada, providing expert advice on specific initiatives, projects, and key priority areas through the much needed critical lens of people with lived experiences. During the week, Cheryl provides leadership to MacEwan University in her role as Associate Dean for the Faculty of Nursing. Cheryl is both a registered psychiatric nurse and a registered nurse. Her contributions to advancing the discipline of nursing and nursing education have been internationally recognized by the National League of Nursing. Cheryl was inducted into the Academy of Nurse Educated Fellows in 2019. Today, Cheryl is relying on her experiences in education as a psychiatric nurse and researcher to discuss mental health challenges associated with COVID-19 and the importance of connection to others. Cheryl's also been a great supporter of Rotary. She's had I think she's had 2 of our barbecue chef dinners and attended many of our galas. So she's had a connection with Rotary for a while. And Cheryl is a person who believes that everyone has something to contribute and a responsibility to share their gifts. So one day we'll make her Rotarian. Welcome, Dr. Cheryl Pollard.
Thank you very much, Charlene. That was a nice introduction. I'm never quite sure what you're going to say, so thank you. All right, so Mark, if you're all right, could I share my screen with everyone?
Absolutely. Please proceed.
Okay. Is that working all right? Can you see it okay?
That's perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. So I was really delighted when Charlene asked me to speak to the Rotarians. I was also very humbled because this is a group of individuals who are so committed to building their community and are committed to supporting one another. It really led into the topic of the discussion today. So, you know, when we start to think about COVID-19, I have a 10-year-old daughter who has been really quite significantly affected by the social distancing. She's a social butterfly and really misses her friends. So as we talk about schools getting back in, she is in there like a dirty shirt and has been labeling everything so that she can enjoy herself there. But when we think of COVID and what we're needing to do to protect ourselves, you know, there's a multitude of factors. So what I'd like to spend a few minutes with you today is really talking about what psychological challenges are linked to social distancing. And one of the pieces where I have found is that people will often, particularly perhaps in March, when we started to think about COVID and what the public health safety measures we needed to put in place, where social and physical distancing are quite different, but we use those words almost interchangeably. So I want to talk about social distancing in connection to others. I'd also like to spend a few minutes talking about strategies that can support our mental health and well-being, considerations for staying healthy, and because no person is an island, and we are always reaching out to others, I thought I'd also spend a few minutes talking about supporting friends and family. So as we sit back and think about the pandemic, many of us have actually started to work from home or have worked on and off from home in bits and drabs. One of the pieces that I'd like you to consider is that really with this pandemic, we're not working from home. We didn't really make a conscious choice to move everything, relocate. But what we are actually doing is we are staying safe. We're keeping our community safe so we're staying safe, working at home during the pandemic. And if all the stars align, then we'll actually get some work done at the same time. So as we think about our social groups, you can tell I explore the internet and take pictures from where I want quite liberally. But as far back as we can trace and remember, we have traveled in groups. And Rotarians are certainly one of those groups in which people thrive and they do good for others. When you think about connectedness, I would like to bring your attention to the Center for Disease Control. We might even ask, why does the Center for Disease Control actually care about connectedness? Connectedness has been linked to positive health outcomes. They talk about connectedness is actually more important and provides more protective measures than risks that are posed by smoking, risks that are posed by obesity, etc. So the CDC defines connectedness as the degree to which a person or a group is socially close and interrelated and shares resources with other people or groups. So as we think about that, we can think about all of the different groups that we belong to. Why is connectedness so important to us? Actually, what has been demonstrated in a number of research projects is that our brains are actually hardwired for connectedness. There is a piece in the frontal part of our brain almost between our eyes. And so that old saying is, look me right in the eye. You're actually looking at that prefrontal cortex, and that prefrontal cortex is associated and gives us our ability to reflect and do that self-reflection. So when you think about what sort of things do I find rewarding, what sorts of things are important to me, do I believe others think I'm a good person? So that self-reflective piece is happening in that area of the brain. That area of the brain is also stimulated when we're trying to motivate individuals. And I know most or all of you will understand that really there's so many different ways to motivate people. And if we can access this area of the brain and with the social processing, we can set up the context within our environments, workplaces, that we can motivate people without external motivators, without additional money, without additional tangible objects. But it's really that connectedness, and one of the pieces that connectedness allows for us to do is define who we are. But we're defining who we are within the context of other people. Perhaps Amanda may have experienced this at MacEwan in her nursing program. That connectedness between first year and fourth year, our students are quite different. I know that I have asked first years what it's like for them and when they are moving along in their program, and ask them what sort of things do they notice about the fourth years. What they tell me is they notice the fourth years are connected, they have a group, they are able to support each other. But the easiest way to tell the fourth year from our first years, according to the first years, is by the way they hold themselves. Apparently our first years can tell who are the fourth years by how they walk and what they look like as they move through the hallways. And I really think that has more to do with that connection and that building of a cohort. There's been lots of research on what's important for us as we develop. As early as the 1950s, Abraham Maslow talked about various needs and how we can move forward with them. And so all of our needs start really with providing the foundation around food, warmth, rest. So with St. Albert, when we're looking at no one being hungry any longer, the end of homelessness, that's really around those psychological needs that Abraham Maslow talked about. The safety and security needs, although it's not mentioned specifically in this is where connections start to really become important to us. And then as we move along in the hierarchy, it's those connections and the building and the strengthening of those that really provides the foundations for being able to achieve our whole potential. So as I started to prepare for this presentation, I had the opportunity to think about connections, how do we share resources, and the development of self. So as we talked about that, one of the important pieces is really to develop a shared context among all of us. And so when I started to think, how am I going to come up with that shared context? I started to think about different images, different sayings, etc. But then what I realized is when I started to think about this, the Wizard of Oz actually demonstrates and depicts many of the struggles that we were having with COVID and those around us, particularly because of the physical distancing. So what I would like to do for the remainder of the presentation is walk us through an exploration of the Wizard of Oz and how that relates to COVID, how that relates to connectedness and the importance of social connections when we actually are physical distance. So some of you may wonder, what the heck is she doing? I am a big proponent of using story and allegory, so I welcome you to come with me on that journey today with the Wizard of Oz. One of the pieces that I'd like you to do is, just have a look at Toto. Toto to me seems as though Toto looks a little COVIDian. So Toto also seems to have some characteristics of the pictures of COVID virus. So perhaps that's why I also thought about the Wizard of Oz. As COVID really settles in, and I believe it was Donna that talked about our seniors and our elders and their experiences, at least with their parents, with the Spanish flu. What COVID has done for us is necessitated us to really shift to a new normal. Does it mean that we throw everything out the window? Absolutely not. But we are needing to build in resources so that we can demonstrate resilience. We can become hardier as we face stresses. So as we shift to a new normal, there are three important components to that. One is really understanding and empathy for ourselves and others. Second is changing productivity expectations. Oftentimes for ourselves and others, people certainly have difficulty with that, and we'll talk a bit more about that further on. And a real need for direction and prioritization. I don't know if this is the same in your workplaces or not, but one of the challenges that we have is really answering all the what ifs. What if this happens? What if this happens? And for us, it's our most of our what if questions right now are coming around getting our students back out into clinical. So what if there's an outbreak on the unit? What if there's a COVID positive situation? And then with them coming back on, some of them coming back on campus. Just like we were discussing this morning, sounds like a riddle. How long will it take for the schools to shut down? How long will it take for the universities to close the campus again? Lots of what ifs. So as we start to think about empathy and understanding, as we think about the Wizard of Oz, the relationship between the Tin Man and the love of his life, Midiani, is really where that empathy and understanding came from him. Does anyone remember how Tin Man lost all of his limbs? Tin Man ended up losing his limbs because he fell in love with a Munchkin maiden who was also happened to be a servant of a wicked old witch or a sorceress. So what happened was his axe became enchanted, and this is morbid. Became enchanted and started chopping him up into little pieces. And a member of his community started to replace the pieces that were chopped off of his body with this enchanted axe so that he could continue to live, etc. So our Tin Man, whose original name was Nicholas Chopper, then started to be rebuilt. But what happened is they didn't see the heart and the connection that he had with the love of his life, and so he continued to feel empty. However, with this, our Tin Man is really the one who ended up needing and feeling responsible for people's safety and for people's security. This is much the same for us with COVID. As we start to think about COVID, there are many individuals who are worried. They're worried about their health, they're worried about their safety, they're worried about other people's safety. And it's easy to tell people, don't worry about that, this too shall pass. Or like Donald Trump, it is what it is, right? So it's around letting people and allowing people the space to feel what they're feeling, whether that's anxiety, whether that's worry, or quite frankly, anger. One of the pieces, and Amanda, I hope I'm not speaking out of school. I wish we had personally met before. One of the pieces that I am actually quite surprised at is I was expecting that we would be getting more anger from our students. Our students have had their programs interrupted, their programs will be delayed, or many of them, and yet they are needing to pivot and be agile and be nimble. So that it is just amazing how positive and how resilient individuals are. So please, I guess our enchanted axe at this time is probably COVID, and we need to figure out a way where we can continue to move on with COVID without losing everything that we have. The other piece that is important is really around changing productivity expectations. I don't know about all of you, but I do know at the end of the day, once I've had numerous virtual meetings, I'm tired at the end of the day. Do I want to write any sort of academic work? Do I want to develop program outcomes or identify program outcomes and evaluations in the evening? I don't want to do that anymore. I'm tired. So one of the important pieces is really allowing ourselves to do the work that we can do, because as we look back, right, we are working at home, but we are at home working to stay safe and trying to get some work done on top. Our priority, each and every one of our priorities, is to stay safe first and get work done second. So when you think about the Wizard of Oz, who inspires some of that? Well, interestingly enough, certainly the Scarecrow. The Scarecrow often self-deprecates, identifying he can't figure things out, but he's really the individual who is able to come up with ideas around how to get the groups out of their troubles as they go along, and really is able to think about other things that are possible and just isn't limited by one approach or one philosophy. This is really something that all of us will end up leaning into. With COVID, it is likely here with us for at least another year or two. So we all are thinking about different ways of delivering messages, different ways of connecting with people. So what else are we needing to do, or what else could actually help mitigate some of the risks that COVID presents to our mental health? This is really identifying direction and prioritization. You'll notice that each of these three components isn't self-encapsulated. They are they merge together. They are often quite fluid. So as I think about the good old lion and the cowardly lion and how afraid he seems, really embedded under all of that is a great deal of bravery. And I think the lion is an example for us of how scary things might seem, but that we will get through. Certainly, it often astounds me how in March people were quite afraid of COVID. And now people are getting a better handle on it, so to speak. Our kids are going to go back to school. Many of us are in the office at least some of the time, and yet now we have higher cases, higher rates of COVID, and the deaths continue to increase. However, collectively, there feels as though we are becoming braver and more knowledgeable. Other people describe it as, you know, there's people in the society becoming lax, they're not following through. That isn't my own experiences. My own lived experiences are around seeing more masks, and it's not that people are willing to take greater risks, but the risks are different and they're mitigated by strategies. Sometimes though it's not easy to deal with all of this. So as we are talking with ourselves and talking with others, please remind, I'd like to remind each and every one of you that it's okay not to be okay sometimes. So as you think about mental health strategies and how that may work and how that might actually be supportive, is to accept there is nothing that we can do to change COVID. COVID is here. What we can do is change how we are responding to that. So I can, I'll bet my daughter's allowance this week that every single one of you have washed your hands at least once today already. And that will continue as we go. Limit intake of stressful information. For me, this means that I hit the wall when it comes to the news sometimes and just need to shut that down. My go-to ends up being the home shopping. I have two go-tos. One is the home shopping network, so I'm a little disappointed that the clothiers will be taking a hit probably until next year. And my other go-to is around the home and garden. But that's because then at least I don't have to hear about COVID. Staying connected is important. So events like this, even the drive-bys, I know personally I enjoy. Trying to be proactive with the management of healthy behaviors. So I'm sure each and every one of you have a way that you maintain your health. And so it's about really protecting the space so that you can do that, whether you go for walks or whether you do some type of personal meditation or stretching, whatever that is. The other important piece is really around focusing on what we can control. We can't control how many deaths there are each day or how many positive cases, but what we can control is how we respond. We can control whether or not we are wearing our mask, whether or not we are washing our hands. The next piece around mental health is really to challenge negative thoughts. Our brains are such interesting beasts within us and are so powerful. We believe our thoughts most times unconditionally. If we feel good or if we think something is awesome, then that's what we believe. However, our thoughts can trick us, and these are common thought traps that people experience as they're coping with COVID. One is the category is called catastrophizing, and that catastrophizing means that if there is one little thing, then you blow it up into something huge. My grandma would say, "You're making a mountain out of a molehill, Cheryl." Well, I still don't like moles. However, that analogy she uses is exactly right. So with COVID, if catastrophizing an example of that would mean if we had one COVID case in St. Albert, then that means every single every single member of St. Albert community will also get COVID, and we'll have a 25% mortality rate. And it's really just going to the extreme. So my grandma says mountain on a molehill. My friends would tell me that I'm going off the deep end with the catastrophizing. The other piece is black and white thinking. And it's related a bit to catastrophizing, but the black and white thinking, if you imagine the people that you know that really think in very definitive groups, that there isn't any gray, that either things are right or things are wrong. So with COVID, either you wash your hands for 2 minutes or that doesn't count at all. With black and white thinking, either everybody likes me or nobody likes me. There is no in between. And what the black and white thinking and catastrophizing do is they elicit stress responses in us that are far beyond what the situation actually needs. But according to our brain, we're doing exactly what we need to, because our brain has categorized these experiences as profoundly threatening. My own personal favorite is emotional reasoning. The emotional reasoning is a tricky one, and it is very, very easy to fall into. Emotional reasoning means that when you are experiencing an emotion, that your brain decides that then there are consequences and reasons that emotion is there. So one of the examples that's often used is that people feel guilty. So whether you feel, and it doesn't really matter what you feel guilty about, but there is some, I should have, as soon as you start to should yourself, I should have done this, I should have done that. Well, you need to stop shitting your pants, first of all. But it's, if I feel guilty, then with emotional reasoning, then there has to be something that I did that I should feel guilty about. So since I did something wrong, I'm not a good person, and that emotional reasoning just continues to feed itself. Emotional reasoning, people talk about it and it's experienced negatively when it's associated with our negative emotions. Very little research or very little exploration has actually happened with the protective factors of emotional reasoning. So one of the examples would be, you get up in the morning and you feel that it's just going to be a great day. You feel good and expect things to be great. That's emotional reasoning. But that's emotional reasoning that's being used to actually promote our well-being and to promote how things will look for us. But because we are all connected in the community and really with some of the core values that the Rotarians have, I couldn't leave you with just thinking about yourselves, because I don't believe that's how y'all are built. Y'all are built with thinking about others. So how do you reach out? How do you explore that connection? I know for some of you, it just clicks. I know, Mark, I've seen you at different functions, and somehow I don't know if it's easy for you or not, but from the outside looking in, it looks like you are just hardwired to connect with people and are able to figure out different ways. Even if you have nothing in common, you always are able to find something. So you have a particular gift, and in supporting other people, really around asking and expressing concern, listening and understanding, and really encouraging them to accept help. Mark, do you have any tips on how you are able to connect with people so easily?
I like to ask lots of questions. I find that people want to share, and if you get past the first question, if you ask them a question and then say, I'm interested in that, tell me more about that. Because then they start to open up rather than, how you doing? I'm fine. Okay, thanks, see ya.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. The piece, you emphasize the asking questions piece. The other pieces that I have seen you do is it looks like you actually listen, and that you listen for people's responses. And that is where that connectedness piece comes in. And well, what about our kids? How do we help our kids stay connected? You know, about being active and engaged with friends. On yesterday, I had an orientation with my daughter's class, and so there was 20 people, much like this, all on Google Hangouts, and they were just going great guns. So really helping them stay engaged. Establishing and maintaining routines, absolutely critical. Although I've got this with children and youth, for me personally, I know that I'm starting to get in trouble when I really don't know what day it is. If I don't know, you know, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, well, I get up on a Saturday and I think that it's Thursday. That when the days all run into each other, we need to establish routines for ourselves and really establish a practice and somehow where we can take time for ourselves and allow us to do something different than just work. For our kids, engaging as a family unit. I know this was a big crib summer for us. Now everybody knows how to play crib. And be kind to yourself. Perhaps it's just me, but there are times where those kids drive me a little around the bend, and could certainly be helped with some sort of chemical augmentation. They seem less irritating then. That is a joke. So as we start to think about how are we going to take care of ourselves, acceptance is the big thing. You will have heard it several times during today's presentation, except that there's a situation out there that we can't control, but we're not in this situation alone. So establishing those habits and practices that will support our well-being. And although you may not think about it directly, your Rotary breakfasts are really an intentional habit about maintaining that support. You were doing it pre-COVID, you're doing it during COVID, and you'll do it post-COVID. And then letting those new routines fit into your life. So thank you so much for allowing me to connect with you this morning during the presentation. I hope that you found some useful information in it for yourself. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Really appreciate you being here this morning and sharing your thoughts with us. I really love the images of the Wizard of Oz. And we all talk about COVID so much, and I think we're getting inundated with all of the messages. So it's nice to see a different approach. And I really like your comments about the resilience of the students going into a new school year in this new environment. Any questions for Cheryl? Oh, there's got to be a question. Any questions at Ricky's?
I'm just looking at the chat.
Oh, we got chat going?
Yeah.
I got a question for you, Cheryl. It's Daryl here. How are you doing?
Good. How are you, Daryl?
Good. It's good to see you. It was a great presentation. Between my wife Kelly and myself, we have 3 parents that are living in a seniors residence, and probably some of the things you talked about definitely apply there. But I noticed you specified youth with some tips. Anything different that you'd suggest on supporting the seniors that have been living in seniors residences, and for a chunk of time they couldn't see anybody, and now there's some limitations around it, and there's I've noticed that there's been a decline in cognitive abilities during this period of time, and you know, do what we can to do social interaction, but there's some challenges there. But do you have some thoughts and feedback on that?
Daryl, that's a great question. The need for the social contact is one of the protective mechanisms for our cognitive processes. So with our community elders really being segregated away from most of us, I anticipate that there would be many people that have experienced that decline. A couple of things that of course pop to mind is around having that connection. You know, we often do the video chats with our elders. I think Charlene has done window visits with her mom, and sitting out in the parking lot. One of the pieces that if we think back around how did individuals connect, particularly our elders, even before we had the technology to see their faces and to talk with them like we're talking today, you know, they had letters. They used to write letters. During wartime, the letters would come back and forth, and that was a real connection. I think writing letters and having that correspondence is one of the pieces that we have missed as an opportunity during this pandemic. Certainly with, I would use that as an additional strategy that's different from those that I presented for children and youth, along with the FaceTime, the chats, the window visits, etc. But I do think there is that real tangible connection that our elders have grown up with that's important, and I think we could actually achieve some of that if we started to actually write letters again.
Great, that's a great idea. Thanks, Cheryl.
You're welcome.
Other questions for Cheryl?
I don't have a question per se, but I do want to say that as a 4th-year nursing student, my biggest takeaway from this, and as you were speaking, Cheryl, something that really, really resonated with me, I know for myself and even amongst my friend groups and my family as we navigate these really, really uncharted waters, since we're the first generation to experience this since 1918, is there really is no 100% normal on how to manage ourselves and how to take care of ourselves. Everything we're experiencing every day is something new. So to be graceful with yourself and to give yourself patience and allow yourself to feel emotions and just to take note of that even is I've found is a huge source of like growth and self-care for me. So I really resonated with that from your presentation.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Those are wonderful comments. I often think about, I go back to my grandma and grandpa with them growing up through the Depression. From my experiences with grandma, I still collect old bread bags. I collect bread bags, I collect egg cartons, and old shopping bags. You know, and so why do I do that? Because I reuse them. Why do I reuse them? Because grandma always reused them. And so that's what a good Alberta girl does. What I wonder about is this experience with COVID will affect every single one of our kids. For us as adults, we have more context to compare it to. But the kids that are in school right now, this will affect their lives and how they look at situations. I don't know exactly what that will be. I don't think that they'll be collecting bread bags, but they will be collecting something. I just don't know what that is.
No, absolutely, yeah. And even from a nursing perspective, I guess you could say, just to like acknowledge like the fear even we have as like healthcare professionals, because many people look at nurses as the front line, and what can you tell us? You know, they look at us for support. And I know even in my family, when they ask me questions, I can't help but catastrophize a little bit sometimes, and I don't know how to answer. And it just to take note that, hey, there's no rules, there's no guidelines on how to handle this. It really is it's really listen to those around you, take note of what you're feeling, address it, journal it, talk about it. That's, I think, one of the biggest ways to normalize what's going on. Is the more discussion we have, I think the better people will be. And like you were saying, connection. The more we talk, the more interconnected we become. There's no way that we are the only people feeling what we're feeling. Surely someone out there is going to be having the same experience as you, whether it's in your work life or your mental health or in your family. So I really like this opportunity for us even to sit and talk about it, because again, it normalizes what's happening.
Absolutely. One of the pieces, I've done a fair bit of work in relational ethics, and really one of the concepts in relational ethics is around determining what's most fitting. You know, it's not about making what is the absolute right decision, what's the absolute wrong decision. Again, that goes back to some of those thought tricks that we do with either black or white. So as we are giving ourselves permission to not be perfect, to do the best we can, perhaps one of the questions that we could start asking ourselves is, what is most fitting? And with everything changing around us so quickly or not, with COVID, what is most fitting? And then we will learn whatever lessons are there for us and move on and decide what's most fitting the next time. It may not be exactly the same thing. So Amanda, you've made great points. Thank you so much.
Cheryl, you had a grandmother, and so did I. She moved from London, busy London, England, into the bald-headed prairie in Strathmore. And I asked her how you handled the change. And she simply said, well, you do what you have to do. She simply accepted it and went on with it and didn't complain.
Yeah, it sounds like maybe our grandmothers would get along. There is that very large piece around pick the battles that you can actually have influence over and move on with the rest. So Charles, thank you for sharing your grandmother's thoughts as well.
Thank you very much for your presentation, Cheryl. I like to end with it's okay not to be okay, and reminder to this group that if you're having challenges, this group is here for you. There are so many individuals here, so please don't hesitate to reach out. Cheryl, we will be sending this certificate to you, and this is a thank you for your presentation at our meeting today. In recognition of your contribution, the St. Albert Rotary Club will be making a donation in your name to the Rotary International Polio Plus program, a worldwide program focused on polio eradication. So thank you again for your presentation, which is very topical segue into this, which is an announcement of the eradication of polio in Africa, which is a great day according to the World Health Organization Director General. In an article that I pulled, polio once was a common virus in some young children. It can affect the nerves and cause muscle weaknesses or paralysis. There's no treatment and no cure, but getting vaccinated can prevent infection. A large part of the eradication effort has been through the Global Polio Eradication Initiative, which was created in 1988 and is led by national governments and 5 partners: Rotary International, World Health Organization, UNICEF, U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, officials wanted to make sure that polio was really gone and have waited 4 years since the last case of wild virus was diagnosed in Africa. And well over 10 million cases have been averted since large-scale administration of oral polio vaccine began 20 years ago. And Bill Gates calls this a historic and public health triumph for Africa, but he cautioned that now more than ever, it's important to protect the progress made. Wild polio is still present in Pakistan and Afghanistan. Until it is gone everywhere, it can still return. So we have won this battle, but the war continues. Reports and announcements. We have a board meeting coming up on September 1st. So if you're interested in attending, it's open to all members. You can let me know. Tools for School, we have participation on site at Staples on the 3rd. Probably saw the ad in the Gazette about us laying out the challenge to the St. Albert community. The club has contributed $1,000, and we are challenging others to match or exceed that. The flag program we talked about a bit. Is anything else that we want to touch on with the flag program? Laszlo, Don?
Just that Laszlo and I are both going to be sending out the address lists today and the route information. I have 2 very small areas that need to be covered, Forest Lawn and Ainsdale. So if anybody has a few minutes of, well, not minutes, it would be half an hour route. So if you could help out with that, give me a shout. Otherwise, we are full for both the delivery and the pickup. Thanks to everyone for that. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Don. Thanks, Laszlo, for assisting and everyone for pitching in. The corn roast is tentatively set for the 13th. I say ish because there are some parameters around that. So keep your ears open. Never mind. We have meetings set up with our district governor, Jim Ferguson, on the 17th and 18th. So there will be more updates on that. And the Safe Car Rally, we have committed as a club to a station and the car rally route. And we're going to have a meeting next week to talk about what that looks like. Are there other announcements? Dun, 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 dun. Hearing none. Next morning meeting, our guest speaker on September 4th is Doug Stollery, who's the counsel to the law firm of Reynolds, Mirth, Richards, and Farmer LLP in Edmonton. He is president of the Stollery Charitable Foundation, director of Care Canada, and has recently completed his term as chancellor of the University of Alberta. So please attend. It will be riveting. He's going to talk about where's the next great idea, building a stronger society through community action. Fits nicely with us. Birthdays and anniversaries. Mike Keating, August 29th. Say happy birthday to Mike. Anniversaries, Myron and Noreen Kostick, 29 years on August 31st. Mike and Jennifer Keating, 42 years on September 2nd. Wally and Joan Monson, 54 years on September 3rd. And date joined Rotary James Kazolias, 15 years on September 1st. And with that, Sergeants at Arms, Mr. John Carl, I will hand it off to you. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. The anticipation is killing me.
It took us a minute to find our masks.
Sorry. Good, very good, thank you.
How are we doing? Good?
Good. How are you?
We're good. So before we begin, I need to share some information with everybody. Jody Swanson's daughter was in a car accident this morning at about 6 o'clock. She's okay, but she hit a deer with her car.
Oh my Lord.
So if anyone wants to reach out to Jody, I'm sure she'd love to hear from people. Zoe is okay, some bumps and bruises and scratches, but you know, she's lucky to have walked away alive. So yeah, scary stuff. But
Thank you very much for sharing that, John.
yeah, it's the other picture she sent me. Like the car is completely destroyed. I guess she rolled the car after hitting the deer. So the police officer said to Jody that she's lucky to have her daughter today. So, you know, as much as we focus on COVID and everything happening, there's still other stuff going on in life, and we have to remember how lucky we really are. So, yeah, on that happy note,
Chase the Ace.
Chase the Ace. Do two of them today.
Two. All right. Should pick somebody.
Yeah.
Just getting your cards ready.
Get the cards ready.
Okay.
We have a deck of cards I remembered this week.
We got the list of people, which is good. Who's participated?
Is Natalia on today?
Hello.
Hi, Natalia. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
That's good.
All right, we're going to need you to pick a lucky number between 1 and 18. So roll that dice, because you're going to need, or maybe 3.
17.
17. Ooh, that is the lucky winner, Craig. He's over here at the restaurant with us.
You can actually pick something live in person.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Did he win a mask?
No. He's 2 meters away.
5 of clubs. So Craig's a big loser. Okay.
No winner now.
Yeah.
We are now going for round 2 because, you know, John missed something last week.
Oh yeah? Were you on time today?
So much love.
So why were you late?
I forgot the list. We may or may not be the worst sergeants at arms, but anyways. Okay, go again. Natalia, we still have 18 people playing the game, so number between 1 and 18, and don't pick 17. Or maybe you can if you want.
I'll go for 15.
15. She likes the high numbers.
She does.
Yeah.
Shauna, are you on? I can't see. But...
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't think so. Okay.
So Rebecca, come on up. We're going to get Rebecca to pick for her.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, King of Spades.
Oh,
One card off.
Oh.
Shauna and Rebecca were almost not losers. That one's torn up. All right. What do we have for happy bucks out there?
Yes.
Any happy bucks?
Anyone happy today? Oh.
I would like to just, for Happy Bucks, Amanda joined us today, and she's a nursing student, but she's also been spending her summer working in long-term care places and doing an amazing job. So good for you.
It's good.
That's great.
Nice to hear.
Thank you.
You gotta have some happy people here at the restaurant. I mean, I'm going to kick in 2 bucks, happy bucks, because it's just great to see Robert Gallant again.
Yeah. See him there. Yay.
I have a happy buck. You guys can't see me, but I just got an email from MacEwan.
Okay, any other happy bucks?
Yeah, Laura has one.
Laura, what do you got?
I got an email from MacEwan last night saying that for last 2 terms, I was on the first class academic standing. So I was very happy to hear that.
Awesome. So Andre, we're going to collect $5 from you for that in happy bucks. That's great.
Nicely done, Laura.
More happy bucks. What do we got? Going once. Going twice. All right. Shall we roll on to fines? Do you have any today?
Fines. I don't have any fines today. Did anyone in the?
I got
you
one.
got one? Okay.
Yeah. And Kathy, I don't know if you're still online. I'm gonna find you because we watched you running around in your bathroom this morning, and you gotta stop that girl. Like seriously. So I'm just gonna throw $2 at her. I don't know if she's still on. I know she had a meeting this morning she had to get to. So, but other than that, it's a quiet week for me. I don't have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Anyone else from the electronic world, virtual world?
Fines from the floor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Doug, do you want to pay a fine for wearing an upside down mask?
Well, depends. If you stand on your head, it's okay.
You couldn't hear that. What did Doug say?
Oh, Doug's mask is upside down. He put the Rotary logo upside down when he put it on his mask, so now he wears his mask upside down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Please translate.
So, I think we're done this week.
I think we are.
Quiet week, but everyone have a wonderful week. We'll see you next Friday.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen. Please remember, we are on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and if you want to see the recordings of these meetings, they are on our YouTube channel. Thank you to everyone who participated this morning. Cheryl, thank you so much for your presentation. Charlene for the introduction, Dawn for the inspirational moment, our sergeants at arms, and all of you wonderful, wonderful people for attending, especially our guests. Thank you for coming out. So please, with me, if you will, the four-way test of the things we think, say, and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Will it be fun? Thank you. Have a wonderful day and a fabulous weekend.
Bye, everybody.